Gentlemen, let's be honest. You've been told to be nice, respectful, polite, and predictable. But when you look around, who are the ones that women are obsessing over? It's not the guy who's always available. It's not the guy who puts her on a pedestal. It's the bad boy, the one who breaks the rules, lives by his own code, and makes women chase him. Today, I'm breaking down the BADBOY code, 5 ways to get any girl you want. Unapologetic confidence is not just a personality trait. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, and a quiet, powerful energy that separates extraordinary men from the average. It's not about being loud, cocky, or dominant in a room. In fact, real confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It speaks in posture, in presence, in how a man moves, how he speaks, and how he reacts under pressure. Women are wired to pick up on these cues. Before you even open your mouth, she's scanning you, reading your body language, your eye contact, your energy. A confident man doesn't flinch when she tests him. He doesn't shrink himself to avoid confrontation. He doesn't fumble over his words trying to impress her. He's calm, steady, focused. He doesn't chase approval because he already has it from himself. This kind of confidence is magnetic because it communicates certainty. And certainty is what women crave in a world full of indecision, weak men, and emotional instability. A man who knows who he is, who isn't afraid to stand alone, who doesn't rely on attention to feel validated. This is a man who stands out. Women are not attracted to perfection, but they are deeply drawn to a man who owns his flaws, speaks his mind without hesitation, and never asks for permission to be who he is. He doesn't overthink his actions. He doesn't seek to please. He's guided by internal standards, not by her reactions. And here's the truth. Unapologetic confidence comes from experience, from taking risks, from failing and rising again. It's forged in discomfort. The confident man doesn't become that way by reading a quote on Instagram. He earns it by doing hard things, by putting himself in uncomfortable positions, by developing competence in his craft, and by building a life he's proud of. He's not looking for someone to complete him. He's already complete. He's not intimidated by beauty because he's encountered it before, and knows that looks alone don't impress him. He doesn't chase validation from women because he understands that the moment you put her on a pedestal, you fall from your own. He's not reckless, but he's bold. He speaks up when something doesn't feel right. He can flirt, tease, and walk away without attachment. He doesn't fear rejection because his confidence doesn't come from her response. It comes from within. Women notice this. They feel it. And it creates a powerful emotional reaction because a confident man makes her feel safe, intrigued, and excited all at once. There's an edge to him, but also a control, like a storm that knows exactly where it's going. He doesn't need to dominate others to feel powerful. He simply knows he belongs in any room he walks into. Confidence isn't just how you carry yourself, it's how you treat yourself, the boundaries you set, the standards you hold, the discipline you follow when no one is watching, the way you recover from failure without collapsing, the way you handle disrespect with calm, precise detachment. Women are watching for these things. She doesn't care what car you drive or how flashy your watch is if your energy screams insecurity. But give her a man who's unapologetically grounded in his identity, who knows his worth, who doesn't stutter when he looks her in the eyes, and she'll feel something deeper than attraction. She'll feel respect, curiosity, and the desire to chase you. Controlled mystery is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools a man can use to generate deep attraction. It's not about playing games or being dishonest. It's about holding just enough to keep her imagination working overtime. You see, human beings are naturally drawn to the unknown. What we can't fully understand, we obsess over. What we can't predict, we keep coming back to. And the man who embodies mystery, who doesn't expose his every thought, his every emotion, or his every move, becomes a puzzle she wants to solve. The problem most men have is they talk too much, they overshare. They feel the need to explain themselves, to spill everything up front, hoping it builds connection. But all it does is remove the intrigue. You want to be the man who can sit in silence without needing to fill the space. The man who answers just enough to satisfy, but never too much to be completely figured out. When you reveal too much, you become ordinary. Predictable, safe, but when you operate with mystery, you force her to lean in. She starts to wonder where you're going, who you're with, what's on your mind. You occupy her thoughts, not because you demand her attention, but because you've created a mental vacuum. This is especially powerful in a world where everyone is addicted to constant validation and overexposure. The mysterious man is different. He's not blasting his life on social media. He's not explaining every emotion. He's not trying to win her over. He simply moves with purpose and keeps certain parts of himself locked away, not out of fear but out of power. Controlled mystery also extends to your actions. Don't always be available. Don't reply instantly. Don't tell her exactly what your next move is. Keep her guessing, not by disappearing or being flaky, but by living a full life that she's not fully part of yet. Let her earn access to your private world. Let her feel like there's always more to discover. This creates anticipation, and anticipation is the heart of seduction. When she feels like there's more to learn, more to experience, more layers to uncover, she invests. She commits. She starts thinking about you when you're not around because you're not completely revealed. You've left room for her imagination to play. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being selective. Speak less, mean more. Say something that leaves a question hanging in the air. Let your silence be as loud as your words. Walk away from conversations with more to say. Share a little, then pivot. Keep her emotionally engaged without giving her full control. You must become the kind of man who makes her ask herself, who is this guy really? And the more she asks that, the deeper she falls. Because attraction isn't built on answers, it's built on curiosity. It's built on tension, and tension is born from the unknown. The man who's an open book might feel safe, but the man who's a locked diary with just a few pages torn out, he becomes unforgettable. He becomes addictive, because she never knows what's coming next. That's how you create emotional depth and lasting desire, not through excessive effort, but through the strategic use of silence, space, and subtlety. Purpose over pleasure is a principle that rewires the way you operate not just in relationships, but in life. Most men are chasing temporary highs: attention, sex, validation, likes, comfort. These short-term rewards feel good, but they leave you empty. They rob you of your power. The bad boy, the high-value man, the one she can't get out of her head. He's not running around trying to get pleasure from every woman he meets. He's locked in. He's focused on his mission. His day is structured around self, discipline, self-respect, and growth. He's not wasting hours scrolling, simping, or hoping for female approval. He's building, he's grinding, he's elevating himself physically, mentally, financially, and spiritually. That kind of man stands out immediately. Because he's not distracted, he's not desperate. He doesn't have time to chase because he's too busy becoming something worth chasing, and women sense this instantly. When a man is consumed by a higher purpose, it shows in how he carries himself. His eyes are focused, his time is valuable, his energy is sacred. He doesn't drop everything for a girl he just met. He doesn't compromise his goals just to keep someone around, and because of this, women see him as rare, because most men are followers, not leaders. Most men would trade their purpose for a pretty face, but not him. He keeps his priorities intact. He understands that no amount of pleasure is worth betraying his mission, and ironically, this is what makes him even more desirable. When a woman sees that she's not the center of your world, she wants to be part of it. When she realizes you won't rearrange your entire schedule just to be around her, she respects you. She may test you, challenge you, even get emotional, but deep down she's drawn to the man who stands his ground, because purpose gives you a backbone. It gives your presence weight. You're no longer just another guy looking for attention. You're a man on a path, and she's either going to walk beside you or watch you walk away. This is where true power comes from. When you delay pleasure to pursue greatness, your energy shifts. You move differently. You speak with conviction. You don't need to prove anything because your actions speak for themselves. Women don't just want a man. They want a man with drive, a man who's going somewhere, a man whose attention must be earned, not handed out. So stop centering your life around dating and start centering it around your purpose. Build your body, sharpen your mind, stack your wealth, deepen your discipline, become the kind of man who doesn't need to chase, because he's too busy creating a legacy. And that kind of man, he doesn't just attract women. He attracts the best kind of woman, the one who respects him, admires him, and doesn't want to lose him. Emotional control is one of the rarest and most powerful qualities a man can develop. It is the foundation of inner strength, the key to unshakable masculinity, and one of the most deeply attractive traits to women, even if they don't consciously realize it. You see, in today's world, most men are emotionally reactive. They get offended easily, they argue over nonsense, they let their feelings dictate their behavior like leaves blowing in the wind. But the man who can remain calm in chaos, composed under pressure, and unbothered by emotional turbulence, he becomes a pillar. He becomes the anchor in a world full of noise. Women test men. It's not always malicious, and it's not always conscious. Sometimes it's subtle. A sarcastic comment, a delayed reply, a moment of coldness or disinterest. What she's really testing is your emotional frame. Are you reactive? Do you beg for reassurance? Do you get angry, jealous, or insecure when things don't go your way? Or do you remain grounded, still, unaffected? The man with emotional control doesn't act out of desperation. He doesn't feel the need to prove himself. He doesn't throw tantrums when a woman pulls away. He doesn't panic when he's uncertain. He simply observes. He responds, but he doesn't react. He sees through the emotional fog and recognizes that most situations don't need drama. They need clarity. When a woman sees that she can't shake you, that she can't manipulate you emotionally, that you are immune to her games or hot and cold behavior, something changes in her. She starts to see you as a rock, a fortress, someone who is in full command of his inner world. That's rare, that's magnetic. That's what women mean when they say they want a strong man, and not just muscles, not just money, but emotional solidity. The man who doesn't fall apart when things get hard. This doesn't mean being cold or heartless. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress everything or pretend you don't feel. It means you own your emotions instead of being owned by them. It means you can feel anger without losing your temper, feel attraction without losing your focus, feel pain without becoming a victim. It's the ability to navigate emotions with maturity, wisdom, and balance. Most importantly, it's the ability to stay true to yourself when emotions try to pull you off course. A woman might pull away, test your patience, or try to provoke a reaction, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to see if you're the kind of man who breaks under pressure. And the truth is, the more emotionally reactive you are, the more she loses respect, the more she questions your masculinity. But when you remain steady, calm, and self-assured, she feels safe, not just physically, but emotionally. She knows you won't crumble, she knows you won't spiral, and that sense of emotional stability is deeply attractive. You train emotional control the same way you train your body, through resistance. You develop it by leaning into discomfort, by practicing discipline, by creating space between stimulus and response. Meditation helps, so does journaling, so does time alone, but most of all, life will test you. People will disappoint you, women will confuse you. The question is, how will you respond? Will you lash out? Will you fold? Or will you rise above it, maintain your frame, and move with clarity and power? The man who can stay emotionally grounded in a storm doesn't just earn respect, he becomes unforgettable, because in a world of chaos, he becomes calm, and calm is power. Bold authenticity is the rare art of showing up as exactly who you are without shame, without fear, and without the need for approval. In a world where most people wear masks, play roles, and pretend to be what they think others want, authenticity is electric. It shocks people, it draws them in, because it's real, and real is rare. Most men walk on eggshells around women. They say what they think will make her happy. They avoid disagreement. They hide their true desires, their opinions, even their values, just to avoid rocking the boat. But here's the truth. Every time you suppress your truth to please someone else, you shrink. You lose power, you become forgettable. But the man who speaks honestly, who lives truthfully, who's not afraid to offend or stand out, he radiates strength. Authenticity doesn't mean being reckless or rude. It doesn't mean dumping your emotions on people or acting out of ego. It means being aligned. Your words match your thoughts. Your actions match your values. You're not bending yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. You are who you are, without apology. This kind of man can walk into a room, say exactly what he thinks, and walk out with his head held high, even if no one claps. Because he's not performing, he's not pretending, and that self-trust, that inner congruence, is deeply attractive to women. Why? Because it shows leadership, it shows security, it shows that you are not controlled by fear of rejection. A bold, authentic man doesn't play safe. He flirts with edge. He teases, challenges, and speaks truth even if it stings. He has opinions. He says no. He draws lines. He doesn't over-explain or justify his existence. And the irony is, women might disagree with him. They might even argue with him. But they will remember him because he's real. He's different. He's the opposite of the bland, agreeable people pleasing man they've met 100 times before. Most guys try so hard to be liked, they become invisible. But the man who dares to be fully himself, who owns his flaws, his strengths, his darkness, and his light, that man is unforgettable. You don't build authenticity overnight. It takes courage, it takes rejection, it takes getting comfortable with people not liking you. But the reward is worth it, because once you start showing up as your full self, you stop attracting people who want the fake version of you. You start attracting people who are aligned with your truth. Women don't want a man who tells them everything they want to hear. They want a man who challenges them, who inspires them, who reveals a part of the world they haven't seen. And that only happens when you're bold enough to live your truth out loud. The moment you stop filtering yourself is the moment you start becoming magnetic. Not because you're trying to be something, but because you're not trying to be anything other than who you really are. Masculine detachment is one of the most powerful and misunderstood traits a man can develop. It doesn't mean being cold, indifferent, or emotionally unavailable. It means having the discipline and inner strength to remain unshaken by external chaos, especially when it comes to women, emotions, and unpredictability. Masculine detachment is the state of being centered within yourself, where your self-worth is not tied to how someone treats you, how fast they respond to your messages, or how much validation they give you. You are your own source, you are rooted, you don't flinch, and that energy alone sends a shockwave through a woman's nervous system. It makes her feel something she rarely feels, unpredictable attraction. In modern relationships, most men are overly attached. They cling, they obsess. They fear losing the woman, so they start performing, overcompensating, chasing, and slowly degrading their own sense of self. They react to everything she does. If she pulls back, they panic. If she gets distant, they beg for clarity. This emotional dependence kills attraction. It makes the man seem weak, needy, and insecure, three things that repel feminine energy. Masculine detachment flips that dynamic on its head. The detached man doesn't panic when things shift. He doesn't need constant reassurance. He doesn't take emotional bait. He stays focused, grounded, and composed. If she pulls away, he lets her. If she tests him, he doesn't fold. If she leaves, he walks without chasing. And because of this, he's seen as powerful, mysterious, dangerous in the best way. This kind of detachment is rare because it requires deep inner work. It means healing your wounds so you're not projecting them onto women. It means understanding your emotions without being ruled by them. It means having a life, a mission, a code that runs deeper than your need for connection. Women are instinctively drawn to this because feminine energy is chaotic, emotional, fluid, and it craves a container. The masculine man who's detached from outcomes and anchored in his values becomes that container. He doesn't run from her emotions. He doesn't try to fix or rescue her. He simply holds his ground, and that presence alone makes her feel both safe and excited. It creates polarity. Masculine detachment also means being outcome independent. You don't go on dates trying to win someone. You don't text waiting for a reply to feel whole. You don't attach your sense of worth to whether she chooses you or not. You operate from abundance, from purpose, from clarity. Your mindset is simple. If it aligns, it aligns. If it doesn't, I keep moving. That mindset alone sets you apart from almost every other man she's encountered. Because most men chase. Most men are emotional slaves to attraction. But you observe, you analyze, you choose, and most importantly, you never let a temporary emotion destroy your permanent self-respect. That is true masculine power. That is what makes a man unforgettable. Masculine detachment is also practical. You don't argue over petty things. You don't explain yourself repeatedly to be understood. You say what needs to be said and move forward. You're not seeking to be right. You're seeking peace. You're not trying to win her affection. You're trying to see if she fits into your vision. Detachment gives you clarity. It allows you to see red flags without ignoring them. It helps you walk away when your standards are not met. It lets you maintain your power in any dynamic because your emotional center is not located in someone else's opinion of you. This is how leaders think. This is how kings operate. Masculine detachment isn't about shutting down. It's about rising above the noise and seeing the game for what it really is. And when you master it, you don't just become attractive, you become untouchable. Flirtatious dominance is not about control or manipulation. It's about playful leadership. It's about owning the moment, guiding the interaction, and expressing your attraction in a way that's bold, grounded, and unafraid. Most men approach women either from a place of hesitation or submission. They tiptoe, they ask permission, they wait for signals, approval, and validation before they take action. But women are not drawn to passivity. They are drawn to energy that moves forward. Energy that leads, energy that asserts, and flirtatious dominance is that energy channeled through charm, confidence, and masculine playfulness. The man who masters flirtatious dominance doesn't ask if it's okay to be himself. He just is. He teases her, he challenges her, he holds eye contact a second longer than most would dare. He speaks in a tone that commands attention. He's not trying to impress. He's trying to see if she can handle his presence. This kind of energy is intoxicating to women because it bypasses logic and speaks directly to their emotional and physical instincts. It creates tension, it generates polarity, and polarity is the fuel of attraction. Feminine energy wants to be pursued, led, and stirred emotionally, and the flirtatiously dominant man does all of that, without ever appearing desperate or needy. This dominance is playful, not oppressive. He's not barking orders. He's dancing with the moment. He knows when to lean in, when to pull back, when to compliment her softly, and when to tease her just enough to spark a reaction. He doesn't fear her response, whether she blushes or bristles. He welcomes it, he thrives on it, because he understands that emotions, even the intense ones, are part of the dance. He doesn't freeze when she resists. He doesn't crumble when she tests him. He simply smirks, adjusts, and keeps leading. And the more she resists, the more intrigued she becomes, because she's met a man who won't fold, a man who can lead her energy without overpowering it. Flirtatious dominance also means you don't fear rejection. You speak your desire with clarity. You express your interest without shame. You walk up. You say what you mean, and you own it. Whether she's interested or not is irrelevant, because your self-worth doesn't hang on the outcome. That energy alone makes you different. It makes you unpredictable. It makes her wonder what it is about you that's so unwavering, and when she feels that, she drops her guard, she softens. She starts leaning in, because feminine energy is designed to respond to leadership, not through force, but through presence. You train this form of dominance the same way you train any skill, by doing. By taking risks, by speaking up even when your voice shakes, by pushing through the awkward moments and owning your desire. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it's no longer something you do. It's something you are. And women feel it. They feel it in your eyes, in your touch, in your tone. You become the man who doesn't ask for the moment. He takes it. Who doesn't hesitate. He leads. Who doesn't wonder if he's good enough. He knows he is, and that certainty becomes the most seductive thing in the room. Mastering self-respect is the single most important investment a man can make in himself, not just to attract women, but to command respect from the world at large. Self-respect is not a slogan. It's not something you wear like a badge. It's a way of life. It's the standard you hold for yourself behind closed doors. It's how you talk to yourself when no one's watching. It's the line you refuse to cross even when no one would know if you did. Self-respect is the foundation of masculine power, and without it, everything else collapses. You could have looks, money, charm, even game, but if you don't have self-respect, women will sense it immediately and their attraction will evaporate. A man with self-respect doesn't chase women who don't value him. He doesn't stay in situations where he's being disrespected. He doesn't try to convince people of his worth. He knows it. And because he knows it, he moves differently. He speaks with intention. He walks with purpose. He's not desperate for attention, validation, or approval because he has already given those things to himself. He's his own source, and that in itself makes him incredibly rare. Women are drawn to men with self-respect like a moth to flame, not because he begs for her attention, but because he doesn't. Not because he's indifferent, but because he's discerning. He values his time, his energy, his peace. He's not accessible to just anyone, and in a world where most men are starving for attention, the man who chooses himself first becomes the one women chase. Self-respect is also about how you deal with your weaknesses. It's not about pretending you're perfect or never struggling. It's about being brutally honest with yourself, calling yourself out and taking full ownership of your flaws. The man with self-respect isn't a victim. He doesn't blame women, society, or circumstances for his lack of results. He looks in the mirror and says, "What do I need to fix?" And then he fixes it. He hits the gym, not just to look good, but because his body is a reflection of his discipline. He learns how to communicate, not just to charm women, but because he refuses to be misunderstood. He studies, he builds, he sharpens himself like a blade every single day, not because someone's watching, but because he is. The biggest mistake men make is thinking self-respect comes from external things, from money, status, clothes, achievements, but self-respect is internal. It's how you treat yourself when you're broke, tired, rejected, and alone. Do you still show up? Do you still demand excellence from yourself? Or do you collapse, make excuses, and betray your own standards? Women are extremely intuitive. They might not know all the details, but they can feel a man's internal compass. A man who respects himself doesn't need to prove it. It's in his presence, in how he carries himself, in how he responds to disrespect, in how quickly he walks away from anything that threatens his peace. And here's the paradox: the more self-respect you have, the less you feel the need to chase anyone. You become the chooser. You become the man who can walk away from beauty, charm, sex, or attention if it's not aligned with his values. And that's what truly drives women wild. Not arrogance, not cockiness, but the quiet power of a man who refuses to settle, who doesn't argue to be understood, who doesn't tolerate disrespect, even if she's the most beautiful woman in the room. Because he knows, once you tolerate less than you deserve, you'll attract exactly that. The man with self-respect is not interested in begging for love. He's interested in building a life so solid, so powerful, that the right people naturally align with him. And it shows in everything. He's not blowing up her phone. He's not checking her social media. He's not trying to prove he's better than the next guy. He lets his energy speak. He lets his standards speak. And if she walks away, he lets her go, not with bitterness, but with clarity, because he knows that losing a woman will never hurt more than losing himself. That's the essence of self-respect. You never betray yourself to please anyone else. You stand on your values like a mountain, and the right woman doesn't try to shake you. She feels safe around you, inspired by you, because she sees what most men don't have: a backbone, a code. A man who would rather be alone with integrity than together in self-betrayal. That kind of man is dangerous, that kind of man is rare, and that kind of man is unforgettable. Embracing mystery is not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about cultivating depth, control, and restraint. Mystery is a form of power, subtle yet magnetic. It draws people in without forcing anything. Most men, when they like a woman, try to reveal everything too quickly. They overshare. They express too much too soon. They want to be understood immediately, so they hand over every detail of their thoughts, emotions, past, intentions, dreams, even weaknesses. But the truth is, familiarity without effort kills attraction. What's given too easily is rarely valued. When a woman can predict everything about you, when she knows exactly how you'll react, what you'll say, how you feel every moment of the day, she stops feeling the need to figure you out. And once that curiosity dies, so does the spark. Mystery keeps her engaged on an emotional level. It makes her think, it makes her feel. It leaves questions unanswered in the most intoxicating way. The man who embodies mystery doesn't reveal everything, not because he's hiding, but because he's mastered the art of pacing. He knows timing is everything. He reveals himself slowly, intentionally. He lets her earn deeper levels of access to him. He doesn't rush to explain every silence, every glance, every decision. And that silence, those little moments where she wonders what he's thinking, becomes more powerful than any word he could say. Mystery lives in restraint, in knowing when to speak and when to let tension build, in understanding that curiosity is a form of attraction, and when you feed a woman's curiosity, she invests more emotionally. The mysterious man is not emotionally unavailable. He's emotionally sovereign. He feels deeply but selectively. He doesn't vent to impress. He doesn't spill his heart on the first date. He observes, he listens, he calculates, and in doing so, he becomes an emotional challenge. Not in a toxic way, but in a way that forces her to rise to his level. Women are emotional detectives by nature. They want to understand the man they're drawn to. They want to feel like they're uncovering a layered soul, not reading an open book. So when a man is both emotionally present and hard to fully grasp, he becomes the kind of puzzle she wants to solve, not because he's confusing, but because he's deep. Mystery also means having a life outside of her, a life she can't fully access, a purpose, a mission, a passion that doesn't revolve around her, a schedule she doesn't control, a set of interests, rituals, and disciplines that she doesn't get to invade right away. This doesn't make her feel excluded. It makes her feel intrigued. It makes her wonder what you're doing when you're not with her. It makes her want to be a part of that world. The mysterious man isn't available at her every call. He responds when he's ready. He's unpredictable in the best way. Sometimes playful, sometimes intense, sometimes completely silent. She can't put him in a box, and because of that, he holds her attention far longer than the average man. This kind of mystery isn't fake, it's rooted in authenticity. It's the product of a man who's actually built something within himself, a man who has scars, stories, victories, philosophies, but doesn't throw them all on the table like a sales pitch. Instead, he lets them slip out naturally over time, a piece here, a moment there. He's like a well-written novel. Every chapter reveals something new, something she didn't expect. And as she reads deeper, She realizes there's more to this man than she ever imagined. That's the kind of mystery that makes a woman emotionally addicted. She doesn't just want to be with him. She wants to understand him, and that need to understand keeps her coming back. Even physically, the mysterious man operates differently. He doesn't make every touch obvious. Sometimes he's close, sometimes he pulls back, sometimes he looks at her with intensity and says nothing. He lets her feel him more than he explains himself. He lets his body language, his silence, his unpredictability do the talking. And because women are far more emotionally driven than logically persuaded, this creates an experience that bypasses her rational brain and goes straight to her instincts. She feels him before she even knows why. Most men fear being misunderstood. They fear being seen as distant or confusing. But the man who embraces mystery doesn't fear that, because he understands that not everyone deserves full access. He doesn't need to be known immediately. He doesn't need to be liked by everyone. His validation comes from within. And ironically, that detachment, that self-containment is what draws people in. Mystery isn't about what you hide. It's about what you don't feel the need to reveal. And that restraint becomes your greatest weapon in the game of attraction. It makes her think about you when you're gone. It makes her imagine, guess, fantasize, and long before she realizes it, she's already emotionally invested. All because you weren't too easy to figure out. So, if you truly want to unlock the kind of irresistible attraction that most men never experience, stop chasing approval and start mastering the art of mystery. Let her feel the weight of your silence. Let her wonder where your mind goes when you drift off in thought. Let her earn the privilege of knowing you, not all at once, but in layers, like a story that only gets better with time. Because the man who reveals himself too quickly becomes forgettable, but the man who holds something back, who commands respect through quiet confidence, who moves with purpose and unpredictability, that man becomes unforgettable. And in a world of noise, the man who says less but means more will always stand out. Let her be drawn not just to your presence, but to the depths she has yet to discover. That's the essence of the bad boy code. That's how you get any girl you want, without ever having to beg for her attention.